What's up, tennis fans? CB Picks here. I feel like these weeks are just flying by here because we already got some quarterfinals matches to talk about at the Barcelona Open. Let's take a look at the draw. Here's a look at Alcaraz's half of the draw, and it was unfortunate for me to wake up this morning and see that Alcaraz had withdrawn from the tournament. He noted that he had wrist pain yesterday, and I guess they did an exam or some scan or something on it, and he had said that the results of the scan may looked much worse than what he had thought it was. So he's decided to withdraw from this tournament and get ready for the next few Master Series coming up. Smart choice, obviously. This is tough because this is his home event. I'm sure this means a lot to him, and he doesn't want to have to pull out of a tournament like this. But he's got to focus on the goals at hand, which are certainly defending his title at the French Open. Hopefully, he'll be back and ready to go. This is a little bit of an interesting turn of events here. We saw him get treated in the Virtanen match, but didn't think it was much of anything. But now we're seeing, now he's pulled out. So this is a little bit concerning for us, of course, picking him to advance here and thinking that he was going to be able to win this tournament and get a little bit more back on track. Now he's sidelined. So this will be interesting to see how he comes back in Rome. First match we're going to talk about is Medjedovic and Borges. And Medjedovic Demonar, what a match from Medjedovic. I really got to eat my words here because I thought Demonar's play style, the way that he was hitting on this court, the fact that the court was moving a little bit faster would favor Demonar, but it seemed to favor Medjedovic a lot more. A lot of things that I was really impressed with. Medjedovic able to hit some very aggressive serves and pull Demonar off the center of the court, opening the court up. He was able to play his aggressive style. Demonar with a lead in the second set and then loses the lead. And it was just a very weird match for me from Demonar. I was a little bit surprised with how it ended. I think he was up 4-1 in that match. So to see him lose that set 6-4 against Medjedovic, I mean, it's a great win for Medjedovic, but it just was not Demonar at his best. Hopefully we'll see a little bit better. He does not play exceptionally well on the clay, so we can't really expect that much from Demonar, but I really thought he was going to make it through a match against Medjedovic. But Medjedovic advances 6-3, 6-4, and he takes on Nuno Borges, who, again, this was another pick that we got wrong, and I thought Etcheverry was going to have this match, but, man, watching this match, these guys were just having these crazy extended points, just moving each other around, and not a lot of offense or aggression. Etcheverry, I found, made a few too many errors at crucial moments, and Borges was just so steady in those moments. The one thing that I will say is this felt so much like it was going to be a three-setter that Etcheverry was going to be able to turn around because he really started to come on towards the end of the second set. He was able to break back against Borges. You felt like he had the momentum. And then just a few errant misses in the breaker, giving Borges the advantage there, and Borges taking full advantage of that, winning 6-3, 7-6. I still think, obviously, to me, this is probably Etcheverry's worst loss on the clay this year. I still think he's playing extremely well. Let's take a look at. Let's also note too that Borges, there was a little bit of like a health issue. Maybe he seemed to not. His body didn't seem to be doing that well towards the end of that. That's part of the reason why I thought, if this goes to a third set, it's going to be another Etcheverry just grinding out a tough win. But you have so many of these situations that Etcheverry puts himself in where you're basically playing with fire, and at some point you're gonna pay for that, and he did here. Just a little bit too slow of a start. in the first set, picks it up a little bit in the second set, starts to play a little bit more aggressive tennis, but it's just too little too late there from Etcheverry. Looking at the head-to-head here for Borges and Medjedovic, they have not met before. Medjedovic coming in, he's 9-1 on the clay, 6-5 on the clay last year, 15-8 on the clay the year before. Borges is 2-2 on the clay, 9-11 last year, 13-7 the year before. Obviously, Medjedovic playing extremely good tennis. This is something that we have to take note of this. I mean, he is playing strong tennis, only one loss, and that was to Vic Capriva in Marrakesh. But remember, that was right after, only a couple days after he played in the Naples Challenger, beating Altmaier. And he even pushed Capriva to a tough three-setter. I think he had a few chances maybe to win that in straight. So it's been a very tough road for anybody to beat Medjedovic. Borges, on the other hand, getting 2 clay court wins, and those are the 2 here in Barcelona against Mannarino and Etcheverry. He had previously lost to Jumer in Bucharest in straight sets, and Rublev in 3 sets. This is a very tricky match for me. I'm gonna lean Medjedovic just because I'm not sure maybe if there was something more of an ailment to Borges towards the end of that match. I think that's part of it, but that's not going to be the whole reason why I'm leaning towards Medjedovic. I think Medjedovic is playing very strong clay court tennis, and he's finally shown us. I talked about this before. I thought it was going to be Etcheverry advancing, and whether it was going to be Medjedovic or Demonar. I said, like, if Demonar rolls Medjedovic, then I'm kind of convinced maybe he's going to be able to take out a guy like Etcheverry. Now we have Medjedovic. Basically, I mean, honestly, it was a great match for him to win in straight sets. Like, he was the better player the entire match through. Even though, like, Demonar looked like he was playing a little bit better in, like, the first 4 games of the second set, but Medjedovic just kind of buckled in, and it really helps having that winning prowess on the clay court, trusting yourself on the clay, being in situations like that before. We talk about Medjedovic, who, drops a set to Halys, comes back, wins 7-6 in a breaker to qualify for this tournament. Then you have similar scores where first round of the Naples Challenger, he wins 7-6 against Heineck Barton. He beat Saklarides 7-5 in the third set. He's gutting out these tough matches. And that's the kind of guy, when you start to get deep into these quarterfinals, that's the guy that you got to go with. So I'm going to pick Medjedovic here. I have a feeling this is going to be a 3-setter. We got to see what Borges looks like when he comes out. But we know if Nuno Borges is 100%, he's just going to be a wall. He's going to make Medjedovic use his all-around game, use the aggression on the ground strokes, and coming in and hitting some of the volleys. He's going to force Medjedovic to take the offense and kind of take the match from him. And I think Medjedovic has the ability to do that. I think this is a good matchup for him. So give me Medjedovic to advance in 3 sets. Here's a look at Alcaraz's half of the draw. And guys, imagine if we're waiting on Sonego and Rublev. Rublev's the only seed left in this half of the draw. I mean, if we don't, this is big time opportunities for guys that are unseeded to get to a 500 semifinal or even final, especially for a guy like Medjedovic coming off the Naples win, for him to be able to make the finals or win a 500, that's a big time accomplishment. Same thing for a guy like Mahatch. We talked about how Australia really jump-started his playing, and he was able to go into the Australian Open, pushes Musetti, who was playing lights out tennis, pushes Musetti to a tough 5-setter, and that to me was the confidence that he built in the tune-up tournaments in Australia. So there's a lot kind of riding on this for some of these guys, and they're just they're getting stronger and smarter as they're winning these matches. So we definitely got to take note of a lot of these names here too, guys. Whoever comes out of this is going to be a tough person to play when we start to see them in Rome, in Madrid, in the French Open. We got to take a look at where these guys fall in the draw because they can definitely be some dangerous floaters. Let's move on to the next half of the draw. Sorry, guys. One more thing before we move on. Sonego and Rublev. We do have the breakdown of this match in our part 2 of the second round picks. If you want a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown, but I'll give you the cliff notes here. Sonego with the head-to-head angle against Rublev. I have not been impressed with what I've seen from Rublev. The Novoni match is definitely his best win on the clay, in my opinion. Novoni able to win Bucharest. That's an ATP 250. Rublev able to take him out, and he didn't make it very messy. He kind of held his nerve, but if this was Sonego at his top playing, it's Sonego easy for me on the clay. But since Sonego's coming back from an injury, had a tough 3-setter against Martinez, we'll see how his body recovers. Those are some factors that, could play towards Rublev. But I just got to pick the guy that I know is going to go out there. He's going to give 100%. He's not going to lose his mind when he loses back-to-back games or whatever. I'm going to go with Sonego to advance. Probably going to be a 3-setter there. Let's move on to the next part of the draw. Here's a look at Musetti's half of the draw. First match we're going to talk about, and only match we're going to talk about, is Norrie and Jodar. Norrie able to get through a tough match against Ethan Quinn. 6-3, 4-6, 6-4. The first set, Norrie, with that forehand, that lefty spin, just getting a lot of balls into the Quinn backhand. We talk about how Ethan Quinn doesn't have a bad backhand. It's just he would prefer to hit more forehands. His game is basically run through his forehand. So if he's not able to get on top of the ball with the forehand, he seems to struggle a little bit more in rallies. In the second set, the one thing I really liked to see from Ethan Quinn was, one, he was playing slightly more aggressive, hitting the ball, coming into net a little bit more, doing some serve and volleys, just kind of forcing the issue against Norrie, and that was able to get him up. He got up 5-2 in the second set and got broken serving for the set. So you think maybe Norrie's going to be able to win this in straights, but Norrie gives up his serve to lose the set 6-4. The other thing that I really liked from Quinn was he started throwing a little bit more variety on the backhand side, like a few more slices, just trying to get Norrie to start to hit to his forehand, and he got that a little bit more in the second set. Third set was pretty back and forth here. Norrie able to go up an early break and kind of rode that out, but it was a very close match there towards the end. The Norrie forehand again to the Quinn backhand was a great pattern that he was using, and I just thought Quinn was maybe a little bit too defensive in that final set, but I love everything that I saw from Cam Norrie. That lefty spin is very tricky to play against. Jodar and Carabelli, we talked about how we just saw this match in Marrakesh a few weeks ago, and it was 2-1, I think, and I said before that I really thought this was going to be a little bit closer, and it was. Carabelli with a 2-0 lead, and he had Jodar at deuce on his serve again, maybe a chance to get another break and go up 3-0. It was a little bit tricky for Jodar at first, and I thought Carabelli did a really smart thing, and we noticed Moutet did this similar to against Buse. He was able to kind of integrate the drop shot to get Jodar a little bit off balance. Jodar moves very well side to side, but when you get him honest with the drop shot, it becomes a little bit harder for him to trust that side to side movement when the guy also can move you up and back. So Carabelli able to use that a little bit, but there was a point, I believe it was in the 2-0 game, that Jodar just ropes Carabelli mishits the drop shot, and Jodar comes up and ropes the ball past him, and that basically did away with that strategy. And honestly, though, guys, I feel like that's kind of a little bit of the pattern to beat a guy like Jodar. So definitely look out if he plays like someone like Carlos. I think that's going to be that up and back movement's really going to be exposed because you have a guy like Hadar that likes to kind of sit on the baseline and just rope shots left and right. But if you're being challenged to move up to play some volleys, then you're in a little bit of a space where you're not as comfortable playing. So look for that if he plays, one of these guys. It might be a little bit more straightforward than we think it would be. But Hadar able to get through 6-3, 6-3. He won, I believe it was 6 of the next 7 games to win that first set, and then gets up a break early on in the second and is able to cruise out in that match. I mean, once his forehand started to get going, once he was playing a little bit more aggressive and, the down the lines were hitting as well, he was just flying. Like, he just got away from Carabelli. Carabelli able to make it a little bit close in that second set just because he had to put a little bit more into the shots, knowing like this is it. I gotta do something a little bit different because me being 10 feet behind the baseline hitting heavy spin balls is not working against this guy. He started to step up on the baseline a little bit more and play a little more aggressive. Which produced a few points for Carabelli, but not enough to really challenge Hadar even in that second set. Again, a straight set win for Hadar, 6-3, 6-3. Let's take a look at this Norrie Hadar head-to-head. It is 1-0 for Hadar. They played in Acapulco in the first round of Mexico, and this was a 6-3, 6-2 win for Hadar. And if you guys remember this match, this was like Hadar was just unreal in this match. He was ripping everything left and right, and Norrie was just dumbfounded. Could not figure out how to beat this guy, how to play this guy. Both sides were clicking, and something tells me that, when you play a match like that, I feel like I can't tell you how many times I saw. Let's take a look at the winners here, actually. Only 25 winners from Hadar, but I can't tell you how many times I saw him just rope a ball past Norrie and Norrie not even move for it. And, I feel like when you're coming off a match like that, you really want to play this guy again. You want to figure him out. And Norrie's definitely, he's a gamer. He's gonna try to figure out how to beat this guy. I think this might be a little bit closer than we think. I think it's gonna be Hadar to win the match, but something tells me this match is going to be a little bit trickier, and Norrie's really going to give everything he has, considering the last result in Acapulco. Hadar sitting at 7-0 on the clay. He has yet to be beaten. 3-1 last year, 6-4 the year before. Norrie, on the other hand, sitting at 3-1 on the clay this year, with only one win coming to Demonar in 3 sets. He was 14-7 the year before, 8-8 the year before that. Yeah, I really am feeling that this is going to be a Hadar win, but something tells me it's going to be a 3-setter. I think Norrie is the type of guy that wants to get some revenge here, but Hadar's just a little bit too strong. He's got that serve. He's got the big return. That's something that allows him to kind of get aggressive and on top of you on your service games. And then he has those massive ground strokes that just give him a ton of confidence. And it looked to me in Acapulco like the Norrie ball was just sitting up for Hadar. Is it going to do the same thing here? It might. So we got to be aware of that. I think this is going to be Hadar in 3 sets. So give me Hadar to advance to the semifinals in 3. Here's a look at Musetti's half of the draw. And guys, well, let me talk about the Feast and Nakashima and Moutet Musetti matches first. So Feast and Nakashima, I just feel like Nakashima is not a true clay courter. I think Feast, this was a great match, the Atman match, a great match to get him kind of grooved on the clay. I think he's going to come out and run through Nakashima. I feel like it's going to be a straight setter here. He's going to expose that movement of Nakashima. We know the Feast forehand is an extremely strong weapon, especially on the clay where he has time to move around it even more. So I think Feast advances there to the quarters. Musetti and Moutet, I just don't see Moutet having anything to really bother Musetti. Musetti getting that nice win over Landaluce, and that I feel like kind of boosted his confidence, especially considering he was down. I think it was 4-1 in the first set. So extremely good win for Musetti to get through that in straight sets. Moutet, on the other hand, heavy spin forehand. He's got a lot of touch. Maybe he can move Musetti around, but we know Musetti is a very prime mover on the clay, so I don't see anything that Moutet is going to be able to do to bother Musetti. If Musetti comes out and starts to throw in a ton of unforced errors, yeah, it's going to be a close match. But if Musetti comes out and he's playing that like A- game, he's going to beat Moutet pretty handily. So Moutet and Fils to advance. Looking at the draw as a whole, guys, the one thing I was going to say was this is a very big opportunity. Now that Carlos is gone on the other half, this is a big opportunity for Musetti to turn his season around. Obviously, yes, this isn't a Masters series. You know, it would be nicer for him to get to the finals or win a Masters series on the clay to get his confidence up, but this is a start for sure. If he can get out to the finals, you know, and have a chance to win against one of the unseeded guys in the draw, I think he really turns this season around and starts to forget about all the all the matches that were plaguing him before. You know, all those first round losses. I think this is a great chance for him to get that clay season going. You know, we have two Master Series left and a Grand Slam, so there's a lot of time for him to do that here, and this would be a good start to things. But let me know what you guys think. Post your picks in the comments.